Let me reorient myself. All right. Hey, everybody. It is Garrett, as always. Good to see everybody. And this is a picture book version of Ram the Ancient Mariner. Now, I'm not going to be talking about that today. What I wanted to talk about is something else. This idea just crossed my mind, so I figured I would share some thoughts on it. As somebody who has spent the better part of his entire life writing poetry and stories and whatnot, one of the things that I must make a confession of is that I struggle with comprehension and interpretation. And this isn't really easy to talk about openly, but I think it's necessary. I think sometimes when we see people who are doing a lot of reading and even doing a lot of writing for that matter, that these things must come very easy to them, and they must just be naturally gifted. Unfortunately, even growing up for me, that was not always the case. Growing up for me, I would, be given like a short reading paragraph by teachers and whatnot, and I would read through it, and they would ask me to recall what happened, and it would just be like a 5 sentence paragraph. I couldn't remember. I could read really fast, I just could not remember what was said. So right now I figured I would go ahead and maybe offer some bits of advice or tips if anybody struggles with interpreting, writing, and comprehending what is being said. And this is mainly going to be as it applies to poetry. So I've done a couple things over the years that have helped me out. First and foremost, and this is the strongest one, whenever I read a poem, I always start with reading the whole thing 2, 3, maybe 4 or 5 times through before I start making any real analytical comments or things on it. And this helps to kind of get the thing under your skin. It's okay to read something purely for the beauty of what is written. There's nothing wrong with that. And so you start with reading it, maybe picking up on the beauty of the language, and then the next step that I usually like to take is sometimes what I'll do, and again, it really depends on what I'm trying to get out of the piece that I'm reading. The other thing that I'll try and do is I will take lines from it, or short little passages from the poem itself, and I will write those down, and then I'll read through those a couple of times, and then sort of start to interpret it myself and write down my thoughts, like journal my thoughts of what I think it is trying to say and what I think it is trying to convey. And that is probably my first big strategy, is just write down your thoughts on it, okay? Even if you are, even if your idea or concept or what you think that the piece is about is widely misleading or not correct, it doesn't really matter. It is your interpretation. There's room for whatever you think it's about. Second thing is using elements of literary theory. So literary theory is not specifically the analysis of the literature itself. It is the parameters around which you analyze the literature. So, for instance, some examples, there's feminist theory, there's queer theory, there is, there's probably even stuff for like modernist theory, there's structuralism, there's formalism, different examples. And you can basically read a poem and pick any number of literary theories you can use and interpret the poem that way. And this allows you to give some more, I guess, objective, formalistic structure to what you are hoping to analyze and interpret from the poem itself. Sometimes this works well, depending on the theory you apply. It might not always, you might not always get exactly what you think you're trying to get at with it, but that's just the way to do things. Just as another example, Uh, for a good 2 years there, or for about a year or two, give or take, I spent a lot of time reading scripture, and this is not a religious video. uh, I would pull quotes from scripture, and I would write paragraphs interpreting what I thought they were saying, how I thought they were saying it, and why they were saying it the way they were, like what they meant. I even do, obviously I still do the same with like even just the poems that I read nowadays. The other thing, this is the last one. You can also just break things down structurally. That's fine. If you read a sonnet, why not, split up the, why not? If you read a sonnet, grab a notebook, write your lines, give some space between each line, write down your stresses, your unstressed and unstressed syllables, pick out your end rhymes, put those at the left hand side of things, and then just write a paragraph about it. Yeah, that's it. It does take a little bit more work with analyzing the writing itself, but there's nothing wrong with that. We all comprehend things and interpret things at our own pace. There's no race. Um, I can't always speed through a book or a story or a poem, but at the very least I can give it all the time and care it needs to actually be analyzed and critiqued, in the sense of actually giving some, lengthier meaning to what is being said. So yeah. Anyways, sorry, this video went a little bit longer than I wanted it to. I hope this helps someone out. Otherwise, have yourselves a wonderful rest of your day and a wonderful rest of your weekend, since this is going out on a Friday. So, thanks.